Shaykh Muhammad Al-Banna rahimahullah, he lived in Egypt. He died in the year 94 years old, rahimahullah. I used to always go through that gate, 94. We used to always go through that gate, 94, always see him reading the Quran. He told me his history in Egypt, where the Azharis, those who study in Azhar, in Cairo, they study that that above the Arsh are what? I will tell you. Because he himself, Shaykh Muhammad Al-Banna rahimahullah, and I quoted Shaykh Al-Bani rahimahullah, when Al-Bani rahimahullah was in Hajj time, in a tent with one of the Azharis, the Azhari Sheikhs. You can see them, you recognize what they look like. They wear red cap with white. This Azhari Sheikh, Shaykh Al-Bani rahimahullah is saying to him, what's above the first heaven? He said, the second heaven. He said, what's above the second heaven? He said, the third heaven. Now we're going up. What's above the seventh? He said, the Arsh. What's above the Arsh? He said, Kurubiyun. Yani angels flying. He said, we above the Arsh we thought, he said, we finished from creation, khalas. Now you have the Creator. But still mentioning Kurubiyun. So what's above that? Is nothing. To them is nothing. Then you worship nothing then. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he said, وَالْمُعَطِّلَ يَعْبُدُونَ عَدَمًا وَالْمُشَبِّهَ يَعْبُدُونَ صَنَمًا. Those negators, they worship nothing. And the affirmers, the ones who liken Allah to creation, they worship idols. So don't liken Allah to creation and affirm that Allah is above His arsh, just as He affirmed for Himself. So Shaykh Muhammad Al-Banna rahimahullah, also his own experience of the Azharis in Cairo, he said there was a Shaykh, his name was Ali Hilwa. Ali Hilwa. And every time when he speaks about this affair, he says, whoever says Allah is above the arsh, then he's a kafir, he's a disbeliever. Strong statement. And so Shaykh Muhammad Al-Banna rahimahullah, at that time, he was only 20 years old or so. He wanted to find out what is the true belief. So many madhabs, so many beliefs. I want to know what the true belief is. He goes to the shop next to Azhar. And in that shop is somebody called Munir Damishqi. Munir Damishqi I found some books that he has written. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Explanation of Usul al-Thalatha and so on and so forth. MashaAllah, to show you that, inshallah, Salafi. He says to him, please, I don't know what to believe. Tell me what to believe. Give me a book, give me something so that I know what the true Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah is. So he gives him the first book as a gift. The first book he gets him to buy is Tawheed wa Ithbat Sifat al-Rabb. Tawheed and affirming the attributes of the Lord by Ibn Khuzaymah from the early generations. And if I'm not mistaken, he died 211 or so Hijriya, yani early, from the 2nd, 3rd century. He started reading this book, and in there is the hadith of Muawiyah ibn Hakam as-Sulami, which is in Sahih Muslim. And he says, the Rasul says, free her as she is a believer, after she affirmed Allah is above the arsh, free her as she is a believer. And he said to himself, and in the masjid, the Imam, the Azhari Sheikh, is saying, whoever says Allah is above the arsh is a disbeliever. So what is it? Believer or disbeliever? Rasul says believer. And in the masjid, the Imam there is saying disbeliever. What is going on? So he decided to speak with his friends. That's because in the masjid, the Imam has a following. So in order to maybe argue back with him in a way which is beautiful preaching without fighting, without violence, let us all gather together on that night of his dars. And each and every one of us sit on different areas. So he thinks that we are more than we are. We're only a few. But each one sit in different areas. And hopefully, maybe the masjid will follow this correct aqidah rather than follow the aqidah of this Imam Ali Hilwa from Azhar or from Azhar teachings. So they gathered that evening. And again, the Imam Ali Hilwa, the Imam in his masjid, he said the same thing. Whoever says Allah is above the arsh, then he's a disbeliever. So Shaykh Muhammad Al-Banna rahimahullah, brave, mashallah, tabarakallah, he puts his hand up and he says, and he's explaining to me the whole qissa, story. He says, Ya Sidi Ya Shaykh. You see, you have to be polite, huh? Ya Sidi Ya Shaykh. You said disbeliever. The Rasul said believer. In the hadith of Jariyah, hadith of the servant girl, free her as she is a believer. You said disbeliever. He said, as if I poured a bucket of cold water over his head. So the masjid now is starting to, the people start talking. Then he said, as a response, oh, this Jariyah, the servant girl, she doesn't know. She doesn't know, she's ignorant. She doesn't know. So Shaykh Muhammad Al-Banna rahimahullah, in response to him, he said, in response to this Ali Hilwa, he said to him, Oh Sidi Ya Shaykh, did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam leave the ignorant one upon the ignorance, or did he come to teach them? Because he said to her, free her as she is a believer. He said, free her as she is a believer. Did he leave her upon her ignorance, or did he affirm that she is correct and that she is a believer? He said, as if I poured another bucket of cold water over his head. And then after that, the people started rising up. Oh, Wahhabi, Wahhabi, like this. Oh, Wahhabi. Oh, he's from the Jama'ah of Hamid Faqih, from the scholars of Ahl Sunnah at that time. That Shaykh Muhammad Al-Banna rahimahullah didn't know who he was. But he's searching the truth. He wants to know the truth. So they're chasing him out the masjid. And Shaykh Muhammad Al-Banna rahimahullah even showed me, he said, I put my hand in my pocket as if I've got a pistol. Because they're about to kill me or beat me up. So I put my hand in my pocket as if I've got a pistol, and I said, stand back. And slowly he's going back so he could get away. Alhamdulillah, he got away. And then afterwards, he said, they started thinking, who is Shaykh Hamid Faqih? Who is Shaykh Hamid? And then when they found who Shaykh Hamid Faqih is, and known to be one of the great scholars alive today, upholding the aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they met up with him and they learned from him, with Shaykh Abdulilah Al-Afifi and Shaykh Muhammad Khalil Harras also. The explainer of Aqeedah al-Wasitiyah also joined them. Naam, and alhamdulillah, Da'wat al-Salafiyya was spread with ilm and amal, with knowledge and action. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who follow the Quran and Sunnah in the understanding of the companions.